Cannondale Smart Sense, for when you want a bike that can do everything. First things first, the introduction. I'm Chris, and today we're going to talk about the Cannondale Synapse, a bike that has been around for ages now, I believe. I believe we're on our 5th generation and its 16th year, and with all that time, you'd have to imagine they're getting pretty good at it. So let's take a second and let's check out the new Cannondale Synapse. Before we get into the details of the Synapse, let's talk a little bit about what this category of bikes is all about. It seems like these days, pretty much every manufacturer makes some sort of endurance bike, which means at the end of the day, a bike that you can do pretty much anything on. Most people probably aren't racing on these. They're using these as their everyday road bike, something that is hopefully going to be comfortable. It's going to be stable. It's going to be a platform that you can put miles on and really enjoy on pretty much every situation. I think one of the problems with the endurance category is that brands have kind of pigeonholed themselves. There are races in the professional calendar where they always want to stick their professional athletes atop the endurance bike and say, but it can race too. And I think what's so interesting about this new Cannondale Synapse is they've really taken a step away from that. Cannondale has added in a host of features into the new Synapse that make this a perfect bike for every day. Everything from electronics to tweaks to the frame and geometry to other things that add in great comfort. And I think that's one of the things that is really important to make sure that this category is hitting the best strokes. Riders that are looking for a bike that is going to be usable every single day and is going to really engage them in better riding on all terrain. We'll ultimately get into all of the nitty-gritty features of the Synapse, but before we do that, let's just give an outline of some of the things that are represented in this new bike. For example, Cannondale has added in what they are calling Smart Sense, a integration of both a rear-facing radar that allows you to see when a car is coming at you from behind, as well as integrated lights that all operate off one specific battery. But I think this is one of the first opportunities for a bike brand to really start to integrate features that don't just add speed and performance, but actually add everyday usability into the platform. And in addition to the Smart Sense technology, they've also done a host of upgrades to the frame. Everything from changing where the stays mount, adding aerodynamic benefits, increasing the tire size. So before we actually go into the technology aspect, let's talk a little bit about the bare bones, the basics behind the frame. When we're talking about the frame of the new Synapse, it really does have to do a lot. I think we're in an era where if you're not making the lightest or the fastest bike of all time, the thing better have a lot of features. And so in this case, the fact that Cannondale was able to hit 900 grams on the frame while still including rack mount, fender mounts, top tube bag mounts, all sorts of things on the frame means that this thing is still coming in at a really great weight. And you've also got a standard seat post. Who would have thought? A standard seat post with a standard seat post collar. So you're able to very easily adjust your seat height. And of course, guess what? That thing works. It won't slip. How lovely is that? Especially on a bike that's meant for rough roads. To achieve that weight target, they've also added in a new technology called, I actually don't know, proportional response construction. There needs to be a trumpet when we say that. Let's just explain a little bit about proportional response construction. Proportional response construction is all about the idea of scaling the frame for the rider. Years and years ago, if we think back to when bikes were first being made out of carbon, there was no attention to detail paid to the actual tube diameter. So the top tube would be one specific top tube and it would just get longer or shorter depending on the size of the frame. What that inherently did was it changed the ride quality dramatically. So someone on a small size might get a very stiff bike because the tubes are more robust when they are shorter. However, a bigger rider with more weight might not get the best ride quality. So this idea of proportional response, ta-da! This gives you the ability to have a frame that rides the way Cannondale intended it, regardless of the rider's size. Something that other brands are doing, but I do think that it really comes through in this bike here. Another thing, and I think this will be a great segue for us to move into talking about the ride quality, comes to tire size. It feels like only years ago we were complaining that bikes were only coming with 25C tires. Now we're looking at the new Cannondale Synapse, which is being spec'd out of the box with 30C tires, and it has the clearance to be able to run a 35. The endurance bike category is always a tricky one. You get a lot of people who are most likely perfect for this category that are still clinging on to, and as a new masters racer, I can attest to clinging on to your youth, are always clinging on to the days when they were younger, their back didn't hurt, they could sleep an entire night without their back going so bad that they had to wake up and walk around and twist.
That sounds very personal.
It is, man, my back hurts. You get so many people who assume they need to slam that stem and have the longest style of ride in order for them to be fast and fit and comfortable. And in reality, what we've noticed from fit data through the years is that even the riders of the World Tour, they don't even need custom frames. And so that comes back to fit. What you'll get out of the Cannondale Synapse is a more relaxed front end, a taller front end that allows the bar to come up to you and allows you to be comfortable on the top tube. When you start to think about the ride characteristics of a bike, I always think bike brands want to push you into this corner where they have one bike that can rule them all, one that does every single thing and does it well. They say it's stiff and it handles really well. They say it goes around corners incredibly fast. They say it's the most comfortable thing you've ever want. And if you flip a chip in the front, you can even put gravel tires in there and boom, you can go race in Kansas. I think one of the things that's so nice about what Cannondale and the Synapse have done here is they have built a package around the idea of what is your everyday rider looking for. They have reduced some of the handling characteristics and made it so it is a more predictable, more stable ride, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you're not able to go around corners fast. In my experience of riding this thing out on the roads, what I found is it almost feels more stable at high speed. So once you start diving into corners and you're putting your weight down on the front of the bar, you end up with a feeling of confidence as you're pushing into corners, which is, I think, something that is really important for riders within this category. You don't want a bike that is going to be nimble and twitchy. You want a bike that's going to be stable and predictable. And I feel like that's what I really started to get out of this bike. The other thing that I think starts to play in and make this thing handle really well and have a great ride quality comes into the tires that we just talked about. The tire width that is spec'd on it is 30C, which means that you've got very big, high volume tires that can take up any road bumps. So you hit a big pothole and you don't feel like you're getting thrown offline. It allows you to maintain that predictable handling without feeling like you're uncomfortable or on that razor's edge. The next part of the ride comes into the technology. Since it's been laced with so much great technology, including a Garmin Varia rear radar, Lysine lights, a center-mounted battery, that really does start to play into how you experience this bike on an everyday ride. I've never ridden with the Garmin Varia radar, but after spending a few days riding the new Cannondale Synapse, I actually bought one for myself so I could put it on the rest of my bikes. It was one of the most transformative experiences I've ever had while riding a bike. What the system allows is you to see when a car is coming from behind. It picks up a car from anywhere from 150 to 200 yards behind you and alerts you to its presence and allows you to track it all the way until it makes a pass with you. It also gives you the ability to see when a car is coming very fast by blinking in red. That allows you to understand, hey, maybe I need to turn around and make eye contact with this driver to make sure that they see that I'm coming up, or I can make sure that I'm safe and I'm able to get to the side of the road. Another great thing about the Cannondale package is the integration of lights, front and rear. Those lights operate off a single center battery and allow you to easily adjust the lights, whether it's daytime or nighttime use. Inside of the Cannondale app, you also control all of these systems. So you can turn them on or off. You can set them up so that they are blinking or flashing in different ways. You can control the brightness or how they're actually functioning. The system within the Cannondale app is actually very seamless. It allows you to either turn the lights on and off with a single button that is on the battery, to turn the lights on from within the app, or set it up with a proximity sensor so whenever you come close to the bike, it automatically boots everything up and gets it ready for you to ride. One of my small critiques of the SmartSense system is that while it is indeed integrated into the bike, I do think that it is quite visible. You don't have the ability to pop these on or off. Maybe you do want to do a ride without the system, and in this case, it is integrated very firmly into it. It does make adding on a seat bag onto the back somewhat difficult. You do have to tuck it up and underneath the rear radar sensor if you want that to continue to work. And on the front, the light is affixed to the front handlebar, which makes it virtually impossible to take off if you just want to go out for a ride without it. The battery as well has around 5 hours of runtime. And I think that is one of those areas where if you are an endurance rider or somebody that's looking to go out on a big 100-mile ride, 5 hours sometimes just isn't enough. And I think that's one of the places where this system does need to continue to evolve over time. The last thing we're going to pick up is the models and the spec. You can get a new Cannondale Synapse anywhere from $9,000 all the way down to around $2,500. $9,000 will of course get you everything that you see. The one behind us is the top of the range, which gives you the radar, the lights, the fastest frame. It gives you Shimano Dura-Ace through and through. It gives you everything that you'd want on a modern, fast, high-end bike. The rest of the line goes all the way down to $2,500, and at the bottom of the range, you actually will not get any of the SmartSense technology. So you will get the same carbon frame with a parts group associated with that bike, but you won't get the radar and you will not get the lights. Once you bump up to $3,000, you'll get a 105 group set, and you will get access to the rear light. And once you go up to $5,500, that's where you'll start to get the entire package. Radar, lights, carbon frame, and the whole thing. And that's it. That's all we've got to talk about. If that doesn't sell you on this thing, I don't know what will. We've been working really hard on this YouTube channel, so pretty please, if you could, subscribe wherever I'll put that later in this video. If you have any questions about the bike or interested in picking one up, it does feel like road bikes come in and go out very quickly, so please reach out to our online support team. They'll let you know when bikes are in, or stop by your local retailer anywhere in the Northern California area, and you'll be able to check out one of these Cannondales so long as they're in stock. Any questions, leave them down in the comments, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks, guys.